Hello everyone and welcome to rural Germany. In today's episode we are going to make a sports area, which will consist of one big football field or soccer field, however you want to call it, two smaller fields for practice or for recreational use around it, and a few tennis fields. Furthermore, we are also going to add some warehouses, which are partly being removed, and we're going to enlarge some parking lots in the commercial districts. Here you can see me laying out the raw shape for this sports park, and a part of the fields you see that there's also a few buildings there, which will function as club buildings with a place to sit and order some food after a match, a few storage rooms, dressing rooms, and possibly a toilet too. We'll spend more time on that later in the episode. For now though, we are recoloring the football and tennis fields to make them look better, and then adding a few more tennis fields. Next up, we're going to add bleachers to the main football field, as all the important matches will be played there. So there was this bleachers asset, but in my opinion it was a little too small and I wanted to add multiple layers of it. So then I decided to use a tunnel block asset, make that smaller with PO, and use that as the base for the next level of the bleachers. So with this trick I added a second and third layer of bleachers to create more space for visitors. To finish the bleachers, we now copy the small part that we had already made and paste it a few times and put it in a row next to each other. Obviously the other side of the field needs bleachers too, and then we continue with other field detailing. Football goals, for example, very important if you want to play a match. We also add some of these very tall lights to light up the field in case there is an evening match. After that we are going to place fences around the field to prevent balls from flying out of the field into the universe, and we are going to use the same tunnel blocks to add a floor for the bottom layer of the bleachers so they don't have to sit in the mud. For the path that leads to all the separate fields, I wanted to use the same bricks as I've used in other parts of this town, because they just look really good and I want to make a clear difference between the parking lot that we're going to build and the area where only pedestrians can walk. Here we are adding some door assets that lead to dressing rooms and maybe one or two storage rooms to store the material for this sports park, and I also add a portable toilet to function as an extra toilet for if there is a big match and in the break everyone wants to go to the toilet. Next up we add a set of roads that eventually will lead to the parking lot for this sports park, but first we have to create a junction with the main road and actually connect it up to the rest of the city. And such an important junction needs some IMT work to make it look better. So I'll be back in a minute and enjoy the IMT time-lapse. Now we start on the parking lot. This sports park will have a pretty large parking lot, as the football team plays in a pretty high league, so sometimes there are some important matches and then the parking lot is full of cars from people that want to watch the match. And when there's no match, this parking lot could be used as a backup parking lot for the commercial district, as we will make a connection with it. So if all the other parkings are full, you will have to walk a little bit extra, but you can still reach the commercial district. And this key wall behind the parking lot, that is the pedestrian path to the commercial district. You could also take the normal road, which also will be connected, as you will see later in the episode, but I can imagine that for some people walking on a pedestrian path would be somewhat more relaxing and somewhat safer too, especially since there will be some things happening on that road that is yet to be built. More about that later in the episode. Now the parking lot is finished, we continue with the tennis fields and the 2 extra football fields. I wasn't really sure what color I should give these tennis fields. I made them green, but maybe the red color they use a lot on these tennis fields would be more fitting. I will leave the decision up to you, the viewer. For now it's green, but if you want me to change them to red, if I can even find a red color that is similar to the red colors they use in real life, then I will do that. Anyways, you saw how I also added bleachers for the tennis field, as there are also a lot of tennis fans that just want to watch a tennis match, for example. Furthermore, we will add some benches around the tennis field that could be used by the tennisers themselves, if they for example are with a larger group for one field. We also add some food stands on the empty spaces next to the tennis field, which I think is just a really nice addition to make this place feel more alive. We continue with the additional football fields. As I said earlier, these fields are mainly used for training, for kids matches, or just for recreational purpose if nobody is there. They won't have any bleachers, only a few benches around them if there, for example, it's dad or a granddad that doesn't play with the children, but just has to watch that they don't do anything stupid. There will be fences around the field, because we don't want to lose the ball and that it flies onto a farm or something, or whatever we're going to build behind those fences. You see me building a fire station over here, and you might wonder, hey, didn't you build one in the commercial district episode? Why would you need a second one? And the simple reasoning behind this is that to expand the parking lots of the shops in the commercial district, I will need the space where the fire station originally was. And secondly, here is a kind of empty space that I also need to fill in to make the commercial district, the sports center in the town, feel as one big thing. That's why I decided to rebuild the fire station over here and delete it on the other location. Another thing that makes it even more realistic that the fire station would be here are the warehouses that we just built and the few warehouses that we're going to build on the opposite side of them. These warehouses are old and they are one by one getting destroyed and replaced by better buildings that are more beneficial in the modern days. For example, this new fire station. After finishing this grass field that purposely has been kept empty by the McDonald's, to make them more visible. We are going to build a scene of one of the warehouses that is about to be destroyed, which I wanted to add to really give that feeling that these old warehouses are getting replaced. We're starting on it now, and you can see that it consists of basically a big dirt area with some puddles in it and with construction vehicles that are ready to take action and demolish this warehouse. The new purpose for this land is to be an extra football field for the sports area, as more and more kids from surrounding towns are coming to this club to play football, and sometimes there's a lack of fields. As this warehouse was empty anyways, the sports complex bought this land and gave order to demolish this warehouse. We are adding one more warehouse before moving on to expanding the parking lot of 2 shops in the commercial district. Okay, so you just saw me destroy that fire station that is no longer necessary, and let's talk about the parking lots that are going to be expanded. We are going to expand the parking lot of the Netto and of the Aldi. The Netto is the biggest store of this area and it had almost no parking, which wouldn't make sense in such a modern district. So we are going to add a few extra rows of parking there, and the same goes for the Aldi. It basically had 0 parking. The Lidl also has a low amount of parking, considering the size, but because of the big Netto parking, I think this should be fine. Especially since there is not an easy way to expand the parking of the Lidl without having to do some major rebuilds, and that is not what we aim for in this Lidl fix. Anyways, that's it for this episode. I really hope you enjoyed it. This was somewhat different to my usual builds because I usually don't do a lot with sports fields and etc. But yeah, I hope I did a decent job. And if you enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe and like this video because we are really closing in on 2,000 subscribers. I still don't know how we got that far. And then I will see you in the next video. Enjoy the end cinematics.